Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak, and we are going to preview the national championship in college football right now, Oregon and Ohio State, with our two regular guests, Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com and Troy West from AllPlaysWin.com. Guys, thanks so much for being back with us. First, let's get to the plugs. Troy West from AllPlaysWin.com. We'll start with you because you were on the right side with Oregon in the semifinals. Give a quick plug for AllPlaysWin.com before we get to your analysis of Ohio State, Oregon.
Hey, thanks a lot, Pete. I appreciate it. Yeah, we're going into 2015, 9 winning months in 2014. Outstanding with you guys in the SBR, particularly, Pete, in the Pac-12. I wish I had my exact percent with you in the Pac-12. I'm not going to quote it, but outstanding. You saw again last week with the Oregon blowout that we called that. And going into 2015, I really encourage people to come take a look at allplayswin.com. Pete, not only are you getting winning picks, you're getting the best customer service out there.
And Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com, professional handicapper for 27 years, been doing it even longer than that. Give a plug for OffshoreInsiders.com.
Yeah, no, congratulations to Troy for kicking my ass in that one. I definitely got my head handed to me there. Now, remember, of course, the BCS championships, goes back to the turn of the century. And before that, we used to have the subjective national championship games, even my handicapping career a couple times where there were kind of co-national championship games. But the good news for my clients is, although I left the sports bar very drunk and depressed the night of the conference final, or the night of the semifinals, we've been kicking butt before and since. Actually, 13-6 in the NFL in particular, plus 230 underdog moneyline game of the year was along the way. So yeah, we've been doing it for a long time at OffshoreInsiders.com.
Yeah, congratulations to Troy. But listen, these lines are tough. I mean, like I mentioned, Brent from BetDSI told us that the Sharps loaded up on Florida State in that game, and I think the public was on Oregon. But hey, look, it turns out who was right. These Sharps, maybe they're not so sharp in the end after all. Troy West, you want to take a very quick victory lap for your pick on Oregon over Florida State? You know, you went against the Sharps and Joe Duffy. Turned out in the end you were right.
Like I said, Pete, I watched this conference inside and out, and I don't think Vegas, the Sharps, some of those guys, they're looking at stats, trends, all that other stuff. Until you see for yourself, Pete, you really can't handicap it.
Well, let's preview this game, Ohio State, Oregon. We'll see what you guys have to say about it. Right now, Oregon is a 6.5-point favorite, and that's down a bit, right? Despite the fact that I think I saw that the betting action is unbalanced in favor of Oregon a bit on the public side. The line has gone down. Right now, 6.5 is the line. Total 75, and that's been bet up from the opener of 73.5. And you look at the two wins. Which win leading up into this game is more impressive? I think you have to say Ohio State's win, right? Florida State was not a good team against the spread on the year. And Ohio State didn't just cover, they beat Alabama outright. Alabama, I don't care what, anytime you're beating Alabama in a huge game like that, that is an impressive win. So I think we have to give Ohio State credit for having the more impressive win leading up to this game. On the other hand, though, Oregon has now covered their last 9 games in a row. And Oregon, of course, is not the kind of team it's ever going to be under the radar. So when Oregon covers 9 spreads in a row, that means that they're putting an awesome, fearsome team on the field. That even though the public's seeing them win and win big week in and week out, they're still beating their spreads. All right, so like we did with the first 2 games, before you hear your analysis, let's just get your picks on the game first to see if we're going to have some disagreement here or if we're going to have agreement. Troy West, we'll start with you. Oregon minus 6.5. You going with them again?
Yes, sir. I'm going with Oregon once again, Pete.
Okay, there you go. And Joe Duffy, are you going to go with Troy West, against Troy West, or take a sidestep into the total?
No, this time we're definitely going to agree on Oregon. We'll talk about why.
Wow. All right. Well, we have agreement here, so maybe that means we have a good bet. We're not going to get fireworks and disagreement, yelling, screaming back and forth. We're not going to get great TV here, but that's okay. What we really want is a good pick. Troy West, we'll start with you. I know what you're going to say. Just tell us why you like Oregon so much, minus 6.5.
Yeah, Pete, number one, that Alabama-Ohio State game from a viewer standpoint, that was a really sloppy football game in a lot of retrospects, Pete. I was really disappointed in the play calling by Lane Kiffin. And overall, I just thought Ohio State, they really beat Alabama with big plays, and I'm not taking that away, but I think in this national championship game, I think Chardell Jones is actually going to get exposed, Pete. This will be his 3rd start. I know this guy for a 3rd-string quarterback's done an outstanding job, but he's got a real tall task. This underrated Oregon defense looked outstanding against Florida State, Pete. You got to understand, I think the more impressive of the 2 wins was Oregon winning 59-20, Pete, against an undefeated national championship 26-game win streak. They beat them 59-20, Pete. This defense is great. This offense is damn near unstoppable. I think Ohio State with that third-string quarterback, that offense is still very vanilla. I think Oregon will expose Jones. And I think Oregon just gets it done, Pete, by more than a touchdown. I got them winning this game somewhere along the lines of a 42-24 type of game. Love Oregon in this football game, Pete.
Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. You always have very illuminating trends and statistical analysis to back up your plays. What would you say to anyone who's saying, they're leaning towards taking Ohio State here, getting 6.5 points because, they beat Alabama?
Again, I'm not so sure that was the most impressive victory. All of a sudden, now the SEC isn't necessarily the dominant conference that it once was. And remember, Florida State, as I said when we did our show last week or whenever it was, that I had been going against them all year. So I wasn't necessarily thinking that they were overrated because, as I said, the motivation factor wasn't there all year, and they did win 29 straight games. So I would not underestimate how impressive of a victory that was by Oregon. But look, both teams are here for a reason. You can't make a strong argument against either team. And the truth is that Ohio State does have the better defense. They're holding teams to 0.9 yards per rush and a very impressive 1.1 yards per pass attempt below their normal average, while Oregon only 0.1 yards per rushing attempt and 0.6 passing yards. But I do think the difference is going to be on the offense. We agree we got one of the great all-time college quarterbacks against a kid who's done as well as you possibly could in your first two starts, but playing in a national championship game in your third start. And despite Ohio State's statistics, as I said, there are a few opinions out there that I trust, and a lot of the people that really break down the game film still think that in terms of pure numbers, where Oregon, they don't necessarily have the superstar wide receivers. They go really deep and they can cause some matchup problems because the strength of Ohio State isn't necessarily the depth of the secondary. But it's going to be a tremendous game to watch, I believe. I don't think it's going to be as ugly as the semifinals.
All right. Well, I don't think there's any need for follow-up questions then. On the downside, we didn't get any, electric television here. On the positive side, we might have a positive EV bet here. Oregon -6.5 is the play agreed on by both Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com and Troy West from AllPlaysWin.com. All right, guys. Thanks so much for your analysis. We'll see how this turns out.
The SBR Network offers free sports picks and game breakdowns, big money free betting contests year-round, a real-time Vegas-style odds monitoring service, and much more. So come see for yourself. To stay updated on SBR news and promotions, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+, and do be sure to subscribe to the Sportsbook Review YouTube channel to catch all our daily sports shows.